Welcome to our Metal Reactions channel. I'm Brad.
I'm Alona.
Quick plug for Shayne Capazorio. Did an amazing job doing the branding and intro video for our channel. If you need some graphic design work done for yourself, you can find his contact details in the description below. So we have another Patreon request here. This is for Marko Squires, and it's Leprous, The Sky is Red. Just says live video 2020. I'm not sure where this performance is. I'm guessing this is 2020 pre-COVID. Can't be creating live videos thereafter. Must have been early in the year.
Well, unless it's, something recorded in the apartment.
Could be.
That would be, very interesting.
I think just from, like the thumbnails or whatever, it did look like a proper concert performance, but okay.
So somewhere January.
Yeah. So we've done Slave. We both really enjoyed it. We just both gave it second place for the month for our July recap.
Mm-hmm.
So
without even discussing it before.
That was not rehearsed. So let's just get into it. I'm very excited to hear this. The previous song we did was 2015. I checked which albums they were on. So that was off the Slave was off a 2015 album, and this is off a 2018, I think 2019 album. So it seems this is their more recent work. Let's hear what's happened, a couple albums on. going to be impossible to pause anywhere in the song, so I'm just going randomly.
Okay. Well, it sounds like intentionally asynchronized. Like all instruments are doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my understanding is that it's very hard to do. Because like they are synchronized, but you can see that they still sort of keeping to the correct part, and they keeping the same rhythm, but they just create this atmosphere of dissonance, which is very skillful, I think. And also the vocals, it's almost acoustic performance, because he's not relying on any kind of melody. He's just doing his own thing. And altogether, all of it just, I think it creates like a right emotion that they try to convey to the audience.
Yeah, super interesting. So, okay, if I start from the beginning, the drumming stuck out, like this very like that kind of thing. Very skillful, very, very delicate, like very precise in where it's going. It's not like powerful and, you know, emotive, but just very, very like precise execution. And the guitar as well, I don't seem to remember, like the drumming feels similar to Slave, the vocals feel similar to Slave, the guitars feel very different, because Slave was these like long, like cool guitar sounds in Slave, but now in this one the guitar is much more like the drumming, in that it's like quicker, sharper, smaller things happening there. So that's quite a big difference. And then his voice, I think it's maybe a fry scream. I mean, the experts on vocals, please let me know. But you know, he's got a lot of like texture and tone and character to what he's doing with his voice. Very strong and powerful. So very impressive. And then I felt during the intro, I was very much like in my head, like I was sort of logically following everything that was happening. I was trying to identify everything that was happening. There wasn't a lot of heart in the listening. It was all observing and trying to appreciate the skill of what's happening. And then after the intro, it broke into a little bit more feeling. And I felt that switch within me. I switched from thinking about the song to feeling the song. So let's see where we go from here. If I stay in feeling, or if I go back to having to think about it.
Inside the flame, with no chance of escape. My own little parallel universe confines me to my forced devotion.
go back into chorus here. So the guitar there stuck out to me. Very different to anything else I've heard from them, up to now, being Slave or the first half of the song. Just thoroughly impressive.
I think I was thinking that this guitar solo, it was kind of old school in a good way, replacing maybe the voice with this guitar that actually also conveys the same emotion quite well. I mean, you could almost tell that it sounds like a voice,
Yeah, it's a good point. Also in terms of feeling classic, I was also thinking this sounds like a classic guitar solo where everything else we've heard from them feels very, very modern and like cutting edge and doing innovative stuff. And then that guitar tone there just had that like classic soulful feel to it, like a solo should. Mm-hmm. Very, very much enjoying it.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm just feeling before this, like it feels like a fever dream of confusion, and like you were saying how the instruments aren't aligning with each other, so it just creates this feeling of not panic but confusion, and we'll obviously get into the lyrics at the end, but I think it's working well with the lyrics as it's going along here. But okay. We'll get into that in a bit.
Don't stop anymore. I want to listen till the end.
No, this is the last one. I think we're getting all the Leprous songs with the huge outros.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that it's a key feature.
Maybe we just keep getting like the big songs that they end off with.
I guess, I don't know.
I don't know what that was at the end, but it was awesome.
It was super impressive. I mean, compared to the slave that we heard, I'm no musician, but it sounds much more technically complicated.
Yeah, I'm just glad for like the last quarter of that song, there was a cymbal that I could headbang to. There was one consistent cymbal that just kept bing, bing, bing. Because it's a case of pick your instrument, and if everyone picks a different instrument, you're all headbanging at a different time to everyone else. I remember someone described another band that I saw once, and they just said that it's the kind of music where three people can be banging their head at completely different times and no one's wrong.
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate for this song.
Yeah, really enjoyable. A few things I forgot to mention previously. The choir.
Yeah, the choir did like really good job, like creating the atmosphere and like
yeah.
all the background. You can't even like always tell if it's there, but it's always there.
Yeah, it was pretty much there throughout the whole song.
Yeah, like a default. That's why you sort of don't pay specific attention to it, but then once you realize, you're like, oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, and likewise the stringed instruments. So
yeah.
I don't know if it was cello. That was my guess, but I don't know. Now, I only picked it up when visually I saw it. Yeah. So it may have been there the whole time and I didn't notice. But, I mean, I guess that's just how... I
think it was making this, like, disturbing crying sound there. Yeah.
Yeah, and the light show at the end, I mean, firstly, they're like, do, like
yeah, I was thinking, I don't know, it reminded me of some like hospital equipment sounds, you know?
I thought I was in a horror.
In a horror?
Yeah, horror movie.
And what would be those lights?
No, not the lights per se, just like the way it's all dark and there's these like the noises that like disturbing noises and the light coming from two different sides.
Like a UFO horror.
Yeah, I suppose, or just like a dark passage where there's like a light like flickering, blinking, exactly. Super cool.
And then at the end, the lights, they were sort of like searching for something, you know, like a flashlight. But because I mean, at the end, the sound sort of went away, only like very, I don't know what it was that stayed, but it was very subtle. It became very subtle, and only the lights were sort of searching the stage.
I didn't notice that.
I was thinking that it's kind of something just, you know, died or vanished and went away.
Well, you're trying to tie it in lyrically, you mean?
No, it was just my impression. I mean...
Okay, cool. Something else I thought of, you know, after the last pause, I didn't even mention the red lighting. Like, I mean, it's quite an obvious thing. The sky is red, but... you know, the lighting was red pretty much throughout the whole time, and it was difficult to see everyone. Like I was even trying to focus in on the drumming, because I'd had conversations with Sean. Sean clearly has some expertise in drumming. He was teaching us some drumming terms and things like that, because, you know, I felt like I wanted to be able to talk about instruments better than I do. And he was explaining some things like locking in and stick tricks and
I don't think I could see him much.
And yeah, so I was busy thinking, like, I promised Sean that I would pay attention to the drummer, to like note to mention these things, and then I could like barely see him, and you know, you can see little bits and pieces. I think he was playing like that as opposed
open-handed.
Open / what was the other one? Not crossed. I've even forgotten. There were various terms for not closed. Closed or crossed versus open. Yeah. I think he was playing open-handed, and I'm pretty sure he was not locked in, because nothing was locked in with anything else, at least not to my amateur ear on a first listen. Everyone is doing their own.
Yeah, the vocalist, like, it was super impressive, I think, and those really high sounds that he was making, and just sort of. Singing to his own melody, just keeping I don't know, I think when, at least like from the time when I used to sing in a choir at school, so I remember that it's like so hard to sing when there is no melody or against the melody that is there, to especially to keep to keep the same tempo than the instruments. So I think it was very skillful, and it feels like they grew a lot from the performance that we saw before. Yeah.
Agreed. Very, very good. Instrumentally, just probably far more impressive than my amateur brain can even comprehend.
Can it be called progressive?
I think that's very progressive.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, from what I understand progressive to be, that felt extremely progressive.
Okay. I'm glad I'm picking up on
See,
the terms now.
We're both learning terminology as we go along here. Hopefully correctly, but if incorrectly, someone will correct us.
Definitely.
Okay, shall we get into lyrics, or is there anything else instrumentally?
Yeah, I think we can get into the lyrics. I think we talked a little bit already about it. To me, it doesn't feel like the song is about something specific, because there's quite a lot of repetition of the lines, and to me it feels like it just sort of, it doesn't maybe create the story, it just creates the feeling inside someone's brain, in my day, and that's why everything has this red color, like sort of I don't know, like a cover on the eye, like
Yeah.
that you just that, like a person in the song sees everything with this covered in red, basically, I don't know, covered in blood, and it seems like there is a very disturbed inner world. I was thinking that maybe it has to do with like mental illness and like mental disease, when the person cannot really control the emotions and the feelings, and it feels like his brain is on fire, and everything, and he can't let it out, and he can't really even explain what's happening. He just feels it constantly, sort of throbbing in his brain, and also because it uses the word fire and wire a lot, I think it is associated with pain, so that the person is constantly in this emotional pain. And it also says about sort of being caged, being fire, wire applying pressure on me, so like wire around my sanity. So it felt that sort of I don't know how to explain, basically like the brain is wrapped in wire, and that's why there is no escape. So like you're behind wires, yes, and every time you try to like come too close to those wires, they hurt you.
Almost like electrified.
Yeah, almost like that. Yeah, it does say explicitly trapped inside the flames. Yes, and I think this emotional state was like brilliantly depicted by the vocals and instrumentals. And that last part, it felt like the state was like evolving, basically becoming more and more serious and intense, and I think sort of the lyric stops somewhere, I don't know, in the middle maybe of the song, or like 2/3 of the song, and then there are no more lyrics there, maybe because this you can't even maybe express this state in words.
Yeah.
So it becomes just the music, just the instruments, and they also become more and more. So they start a bit soft, and then they go louder and louder and louder, and even more in dissonance. And then just at some point, it feels like the bubble bursts, and it all stops, and that's it. I mean, that's the end.
Okay, I think that's an awesome explanation you've done there. I feel a lot similar. When it started out, my first association was to anger. There's an expression that like the red mist descended. Mm-hmm. You know, when the red mist descends, you're just angry, violent, not in control, like road rage or whatever the case may be. So the beginning of the song I thought was talking about anger, where the sky is red, red again, uncontrollable impulses coming my way, stripped of all logic, sense, my head feels so dense. Now that could be used to describe other emotions as well. Well, any intense emotion really, where emotion takes over from logic. Mm-hmm. But my first connection was anger. However, as it went through, I started to move away from anger and more into sort of mental health type, so I suppose confusion or depression or things like that. The second stanza confused me a little bit more because it says falling down endless shaft. So, okay, that feels like it makes sense, like we're descending further and further into this emotional state. Submission, giving way at last. So we're no longer submitting. We're no longer trying. We're no longer fighting it. I'm not sure. What's the opposite?
That's why I was thinking about mental issues when I was hearing the song, because it feels like the person loses control of what's happening, of his own emotions, and here like falling down endless shaft. So it's escalating and we can't stop it. Mm-hmm. So I would say that it's either like, I think it can be depression or anxiety or even maybe Alzheimer when you stop remembering stuff and you can't maybe control your movements even, or maybe schizophrenia. I'm not sure.
Well, see, I was thinking all these things, but if submission is giving way at last, so it means you're not submitting to it anymore. And then it says, feeling suddenly brave, grace is all that is left. So of those 4 lines in the second stanza, the first one kind of fits where we're going deeper into this emotion, whatever it may be. But then the other 3 are completely contradictory in my mind, where we're not submitting, we're feeling brave, and we have grace. But then the rest of the song goes back into, is there any chance of recreation of what I used to feel? So perhaps second stanza is a flashback to how you used to be able to feel, and you're trying to remember good emotion and how it used to be, but then perhaps the rest of the song is just the inability to go back to feeling that anymore.
Well, maybe it doesn't go like straightforwardly, downward trend. Mm-hmm. Maybe you just have a bright, like better moments and then worse moments, but then by the end of it just, goes worse and worse. Sort
of like a bipolar?
Maybe. I'm not expert in these things, but something like that. Yeah. And actually this third stanza, it gave me idea of that it's a disease because it wasn't always this way. So it basically shows that there was a background when the things were different and when he was feeling maybe normal.
Yeah. But then as we go on, I had very similar feelings to you with, wire around my sanity. So my sanity is within this cage and trapped, and my sanity can't escape. Mm-hmm. Sort of the sanity is a prisoner. So I think thereafter you explained it really well and fully agree with what you were saying, especially with how it ties into everything, the vocals, the instruments, the lights, the whole performance gives this fever dream feel, which ties in so beautifully to the lyrics. It's very, very, very well done. Great piece of art.
Yeah, I think it was very delicately put together.
And skillfully, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I think we've covered it. Yeah. The basics.
We've covered the basics.
I mean, I think it's more about, so this song is more about feeling and emotion than about words.
Yeah. I particularly like what you said about how, you know, when the lyrics end, possibly because there's no longer words to describe, and the whole like crescendo and the, you know, what comes after the climax is sort of this aftermath that then trails off into more silence. Beautifully done.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. And looking forward to doing some more Leprous, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I do like this band a lot.
Please suggest more Leprous. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching.